forward. He's also a policy analyst, and he was a media aide to senatorial candidate in the 2023 elections. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me once again.
It's good to have you. All right. It's good to have you here because there's a lot of talk going on. Today we'll start with the issue of KANO state judgment. I believe a lot of persons, even people from your own party, I'm talking about just party members now, had somehow accepted the governorship of Governor Abba Yusuf, saying that the gap with his victory was quite enormous. But we have now that the appeal court has now reconfirmed or reaffirmed the decision that the tribunal made and basically sacked the governor. The governor is now heading to the Supreme Court, hoping to get a reversal. Before we delve into specifics, what's your take on this? Was it expected?
Well, thank you very much. I followed the court process and found out some of the submissions made by the party NNPP already has been dealt with at the tribunal, and coming up with fresh allegations against the APC was more like a setback for them, because after examining the documents tendered before the Court of Appeal, there were grounds that were established. First, what the counter was, he was not a valid member of the NNPP. That was number one. Then secondly, there are other issues, but I'll speak on this one, not being a member of the NNPP. And at the same time, there were issues of overvoting, which was reported during that election. These issues are not to be taken for granted because, at the initial stage, these votes were presented to INEC, rather by INEC in the courts. They found out issues related to overvoting, and in fact, they have to be invalidated because during the campaign period, we knew that the Konkoso group, rather the NNPP, has the support of the masses and all that, because they see him as a change maker, and he has this mass followership because he's so determined to become a leader, rather contest as a president. But despite that, he has the grassroots support, and the overwhelming majority of Kano people that came out to vote at that particular election wanted a change in narratives because of the gap being that existed that time. People want to exploit. No doubt I will fault the APC government on that game just because of some of the lapses which were noticed at that time. So during the election, a lot of people that participated, they don't even have valid INEC voters card. That is on one side, and there were cases whereby ballot boxes were reported to have been snatched, and you now found that because of that sympathy vote or sympathy for His Excellency Rabi Musa Konkoso and the incoming governor Abba Yusuf, passionately people voted massively for him. And that was their weakness, because the APC, on the other hand, knew that they are confronting a mountain. So what do you do?
But they're the incumbent APC.
Yes.
They were the ones in power.
They were the ones in power.
So shouldn't they be the ones that need to be overcome?
Thank you for that. Who sponsored the Abba bill? Is NNPP and the Konkosia movement. Konkosia movement is for long have been on ground, and they've been doing so well. They have the youth population, they have the women, they have the grassroots support and all that. So it was easy anytime. I think almost every politician, of recent times have relationship with Rabi Musa Konkoso. So no doubt about that. So it's very difficult for you to separate these facts. But then what really gave them that victory, like I told you, was the massive support which he got from the grassroots, and for the fact that too he's very ambitious. Okay, I'm coming for the presidency, I need your support. So there was that mass following. But then APC, knowing fully well that we have an opposition that is very solid on ground, and Ganduje is exiting office. We are bringing in Gauna, and Gauna had to do a lot of marketing at the grassroots. But then they knew that confronting Ganduje, who is the presidential aspirant, and at the same time with, massive support. Don't forget that Kronkoso has a lot of support from the 3 senatorial zones, where we have Kawu Sumaila, we have Bafa Bichi, and we have Mutari, Hanga and other people. These are people that have the grassroots. Rufai Sani Hanga, sorry. These are people that have grassroots support. So it's going to be very difficult for you to confront these people. But knowing fully well that, yes, this structure exists. APC went to the drawing board. This time, you have to go through the technical details by exploiting the weakness of the NNPP. The NNPP came at a time they were so desperate to switch alliances. They were moving from PDP to NNPP. And doing that, remember the Electoral Act provides a window for you to register and become fully a member before your documents or whatever is uploaded to INEC portal and all that. So that window period was not duly exploited. And that became a weakness for the party. That's one. Then number two, the NNPP never had time to educate the voters, what I call voter education. If they had done that, knowing the basics, look, if you have to pick up the membership card, or rather to become a candidate for any of the elected positions, there are things that you need to put in place. Look, Famous, I will tell you that in one aspect, a friend I knew who is within my own constituency, who won under the NNPP, as at January, he's still receiving salary from his office where he left. When you know 6 months ahead, you need to vacate your position as an officer and contest election. So those windows were exploited.
These are technicalities.
These are technicalities which NNPP underestimated. So, and the APC, knowing fully well that yes, they have the grounds to, counter, decided to apply this. So even when they got this massive vote, we noticed that, yes, there were incidences of overvoting, and all that. And that was what APC tendered in the court. And technically, there's no way APA can scale through. That's on one side. On the other hand, you know fully well that when this man was sworn in as a governor of Kano State, the first thing he did was demolition. Coming up against, the existing structure you are coming up against people that already fraternize with the exiting governor and the government of APC. They have alliances here and there. So how are you going to confront this man? So there's this personal vendetta by Rabi Musa Kronkoso using Abba to neutralize all other threats so they can stay. But it's not done that way because, in every instance, that is why I say the advantage Ganduje had over them was, one, he was one time an administrator. So he's very skillful about these dynamics. And that was what he put to use. All the properties that were sold were given C of O. Most of them were given C of O. And coming down to pull down these structures, you are coming against a system that is in place. They're going to meet in the court. Yes. So these are some of the things that worked against the NNPP.
Yeah, interestingly, the APC in Kano has actually called for members to begin to pray, particularly those who had some of their properties destroyed. Well, the question now is there a bad precedent being set here where it seems as though, because even in your speech here, you are admitting that there were protest votes, that these people actually meant to, the majority went with NNPP. So yes. Is there a bad precedent being set here where the courts can overturn an election even when we know this is the majority vote. This has happened now with KANO, it has happened with Plateau, it has happened with Zamfara. And okay, I believe those are the three at the moment so far. So
even there were complaints from the last election in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa.
Yes. So, the issues you've raised now in the Supreme Court, this was said to be pre-election matters, and that it doesn't affect the outcome. That if such an issue should come up, it should come up by members of the party during primary period before elections and so on. But now we are seeing this. Is there a discrepancy here?
INEC is joined in the suit filed by all the parties. So INEC need to tender documents relating to every candidate that participated in the election. So technically, if INEC is joined in the suit, INEC must present evidences. And remember, the Constitution does not provide INEC the mandate to disqualify any candidate. It's there in the Constitution, okay? And a lot of, lawyers and, have spoken about this issue that it's not possible, or rather, INEC does not have the mandate to disqualify candidates. Rather, the court will determine that. That's on one hand. So going to the Supreme Court, may I see it as an issue that is belated and is too late for NMPP, to defend itself at the Supreme Court, because these are issues that have been established at the lower court. So it's going to be, but again, I will still use this opportunity to tell you that for the benefit of those, participating in general elections, there's nothing like, mobilizing people to overvote during elections. There's a need for you to carry out voter education, because you will discover that some of the ballot papers used were not stamped, they were not signed, and they were not dated. So during the cross-examination, some of these documents were, brought out, and you have to remove them, and that was what affected the NMPP. Most of the ballot papers used, they did not meet expectation. And that was what happened. And it's a clarion call to all politicians. It's not about mobilizing people to vote because you have the majority. It's about educating them, and at the same time, the electoral agents, rather the polling agents you are bringing, or rather you are using at the polls, you educate them to say, look, in every poll, or rather at the polling unit, ensure that these result sheets are stamped, signed, and dated.
But don't you think at some point the courts can also consider other issues to avoid leading to an issue where, because if you take some of the headlines today, there are issues about people saying that we should be careful so that there's no revolts and so on, because the point here is that the majority made a choice, and it seems like the courts can just...
The majority made the wrong choice.
The wrong choice.
The wrong choice.
Well, that is, I think that's
not about
a political
voting.
issue.
No, it's not about voting. It's about voting rightly. And that is why I keep saying that it's a need for voter education.
But don't you think technicalities are beginning to overshadow
technicalities
some
will
other
crop in
issues?
because one, you presented a case in the court, and the court will determine the outcome of every election.
Let me put it this way. Do you think these technicalities might be unduly favoring your party? No. I say this because on one hand, when it was the APC on the line, we heard that pre-election matters is none of our business. And now pre-election matters have become, the thing of the day.
No, let me tell you this. I'm so happy when, I was happy when the former President Muhammadu Buhari signed the new Electoral Act. That's the icing on the cake, and that will put politicians in check. It doesn't matter whether you belong to party A, B, C, or D. The most important thing, go through the details, study them very well before you go to the polls. A lot of politicians, even those in the National Assembly today, you agree with me, many of them never came back because of the Electoral Act. As at the time he signed, most of them never had time to go through it because they were busy politicking here and there. And now the court has to take a decision based on the electoral. It's not based on sentiment. The court will study the whole process and, okay, this is our findings. It's not about guesswork. I think for the first time, people should begin to appreciate the judiciary. You know, during Buhari's government, we lost in Oshun and some other places, even in Anambra. APC lost in many states. We don't even have a candidate in Rivers State. It's because, one, due process must be followed. And you must allow people what we call participatory democracy. People should vote and come out to vote. You know, people should determine who they want. But again, in as much as we want to allow democracy to thrive, we should begin to think through what are the necessary or are the basic steps that should be taken, so that you don't have incidences whereby, you know, yes, we voted massively, you know, these things were upturned. You are overheating the polity. And I will call on INEC to begin more of voter education. And that's why I keep saying, sometimes ago, there's a need for INEC to be unbundled. There's too much pressure on INEC, and their powers are limited.
But do you think in all of this that the courts should, you know, the courts are bound, you know, to always follow these technicalities?
Yes. That is why you tender the cases before the court. They determine every electoral offense.
But what do you think could come out in the Supreme Court, being that it was the Supreme Court itself who laid that precedence that pre-election matters at this stage in time is already a forgotten issue? It can't be considered.
I will not preempt the ruling of the Supreme Court. I'm not a member of the bench, but you see, as far as I'm concerned, the lower court, during the pronouncement, you know, it took time, almost more than 30 days to scrutinize some of the documents presented before them by all the, you know, parties and in question. But going forward, losing at the election petition tribunal, then at the same time at the appeal court, is there any ground for you rather to proceed to the Supreme Court when you know you're already 2-0 down? I think I discussed with some of our friends in Kano yesterday, especially those in the opposition. I said, look, we should weigh the odds. We love Kano. Kano is our place. By the way, my loyalty is to all the political parties, because I have so many friends that contested during the last election, you know, in Kano. Abba is like it's a friend. It's not like a friend. We do exchange ideas. Okay, these are things that need to be done. But again, on the contrary, a situation whereby you do not take time to study the details. And don't forget, the NNPP itself, the secretariat queried the presidential aspirant, Rabi Musa Konkoso. Why? Because, you know, there was this selective method he adopted. It's only those that are loyal to him that will be given the ticket to fly
in the NNPP.
In the NNPP.
So you think some of their internal squabbles, because
yes, it affected
a faction
the
of the party has accused them. Yeah.
Of course. And he was even suspended. And they are even threatening to expel him from the party.
But do you think it was that margin that gave them, the NNPP, that confidence, perhaps, that
Famous,
this was a
margin
walkover?
Aside, well, you see, it goes back to the first point I raised, disqualification.
But the point now is, do you think they took this seriously, or they thought it was just a formality?
No, the court is so serious about it. It is established. Were you a member of the party? That is one. Number two, when did you join the party? 3, were there primaries conducted? Who emerged the winner? So all those things played out. Like I said, you know, His Excellency is so passionate about, you know, changing the narratives in Kano State. So he will want you to be loyal to him, to be 100% loyal to him. Fine, no problem. But again, even if you are going to establish yourself as a godfather, allow internal democracy. If you allow that, you discover that you see, it's just like strolling to the park, you win easily. But situation whereby some of my friends were, you know, who expressed interest in the party, because it was the bride that time, everybody wants to wear NNPP. Oh, let's go to NNPP. His Konkoso is back. Yes, he was the rave of the moment. But are you going to succeed without carrying the real politicians along? You know, Kano, there's a transition beginning from the time of Malam Aminu Kano. We have the likes of Mitama Sule, we have the likes of Musa Gwadabi. They are great politicians. And all these people, you know, they took their time, you know, to educate the new breed. This is what you should do. So they have alliances, they have people that are loyal to them. Even Kwankwaso when he came on. But yes, I like him for one thing. He's somebody that is so determined about, you know, empowering the youth, supporting them, sponsoring youth, you know, and all that. He's so good at that. He's somebody who's so concerned about literacy, because the level of literacy in Kano is very low, and there's a need for people. The more you educate them, the more you see violence disappear in Kano. So he has been doing so much in that regard. So, and that is why you have this mass following, because everybody, you know, after your secondary school, you have more than 5-6 credits, you don't have sponsor, and somebody overnight say, okay, we are going to support you. Definitely, you must be loyal to that person. So he has done so much in areas of, you know, sponsorship and career development for so many people. So put that aside, there's a need for, you know, for him to take the next step, which is building consensus among politicians. You don't just assume, okay, it's me or never. Remember, the former governor of Kano State, His Excellency Malam Ibrahim Shekaru, was in NNPP. He got angry and left. A lot of people like that got angry and left. Officially, he left the party. Even when the party won, the senatorial said they thought he's coming to pick the ticket. But no, the party presented a candidate in Rufai Sani Hanga, and he's in the Senate as I'm talking to you, of which, you know, is one of the things we contested, because there was no candidate. Rufai Sani Hanga never participated in the primary. So, and it affected the APC, because my own candidate was there. He was not able to prove the case in court. Okay, so these are some of the technicalities that took place at that time. So it was a very difficult one, but I still want to urge, well, it's good for him to proceed to the Supreme Court, but don't see silver linings at the end of the day for NNPP and Abba Kabir Yusuf.
Well, it's interesting. I think they will count it a very big missed opportunity if somehow this is you know, is maintained by the Supreme Court. But still on the Kano judgment, we'll try and get a video now of the APC National Chairman speaking on it. But before that, the dynamic that we're seeing, like I said, APC members are praying already, and they're saying there's a phrase going about now, Gawuna is coming. What can you say about that?
Well, first and foremost, let me tell you this, that Gawuna is a gentleman. He's a man that is so much loved by the people of Kano State. Yes, I've met him on several occasions, and, you know, he's somebody, yes, you can be quick Kano too. He has that mentality, and at the same time, somebody that is grounded in, you know, national politics. He has been there, you know, for a long time. And his loyalty has never been in doubt. He used to be in the Shekaro camp. And look at it this way, giving it to Gawuna, already you have brought in, you know, the Shekaro camp into government. You have brought in the APC fold and all that. So it's a government, I believe, is going to be government of consensus. It's going to bring everybody on board. And it's not going to act as the ABBA NNPPD, because, you know, I had it from the guys there, what Kwankwaso did. ABBA is not in charge. Out of about 20 commissioners, Kwankwaso brought in about 18 of them, and they were, you know, orders coming from here, right, left, and center.
He's still loyal to
even if you are loyal, it's like a third-term agenda.
No, the question why I ask is because we saw what's happening in Rivers State.
Yes, and between Fubara and
Governor Wike. Some persons, the other day, there's a video of the Kogi governor-elect kneeling before the current governor, and people say, well, they don't see any rifts ever coming, and yes, you know, one begins to wonder. This is also that dynamic between the Kwankwasos and the Abbas. You know,
but the difference for Kwankwaso and Abba is just a rookie. He was one time a commissioner for works, was there or something like that, and an in-law to Kwankwaso. But again, he inherited a fight. You know, a big fight between Kwankwaso and other politicians. And it's too big. He can't fight that fight. And
that was backfiring now.
You know, it's definitely. My sympathy goes to Kwankwaso, and at the same time, Abba. Because if you come in, they are supposed to take some decisions that will have positive impact. It's not about sponsorship. Yeah, he did a lot within the space of 5 months. He found himself in office, supporting, embarking on welfareism. But then, away from that, one of the things that caused a setback for Abba was this demolition. As if maybe there's a master plan, and at the same time, APC government does not work with the master plan and all that. So these are the early signs of failure for Abba. So there's no way you can appease Kano people, especially when it comes to anything related to commercials.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I finally, to get your final thoughts on this, the Labour Party, the PDP, they've alleged that what the APC is trying to do is enforce a one-party state.
I don't believe so.
Is that what's happening?
I don't believe so, because if you go back to 1999 to 2007, how many states controlled by the PDP? No, it's all about alliances. Everybody wants to align with the center. You know how party politics works. It's APC in government. If I don't pledge my loyalty to APC, how do I attract development to my state? Okay, for instance, in Abga, in Anambra, Soludo is there. Soludo has to parley with those at the center to attract development. It's going to be difficult for you to put up proposals to attract investment to your state. It's usually very, very difficult. So, and that is why most times politicians, they always advise, okay, let's toe the line of prosperity so that we can attract investment and good governance to our state. It's normal in party politics, but again, it's not good for us, especially in Africa. It shouldn't be winner takes all.
It's just a cutting. Speaking about that issue of winner takes all, you've mentioned a number of people in Kano state politics. I believe you also have some lined up, likes of Kwanko saw himself, Ganoje, Chekarao.
Yes.
But now let's quickly take a look at what former Governor Ganoje had to say on this issue, and then after that we'll talk about these change makers, as they are called, and what their impact will be in Kano state politics going forward. Okay. Let's take a look at that now.
PDP amma da zafi yayi yawa da rigima ta yi yawa da aka yi musu kutufo suka yi fushi suka bar jam'iyyar PDP suka tafi suna lalube suna neman jam'iyya sai suka yi karo da wata jam'iyya mai kayan gwari. Suka da wannan jam'iyya aka tsaye da su zaɓe domin shugabansu yana kwaɗayi, shugabansu yana mafarki, shugabansu yana ɗoki, shugabansu ya firgita, shugabansu ya ɗumantu, yana so ya zama shugaban ƙasa. Wannan ya ta ce ga takara ka zo kai shugaban ƙasa. Suna neman gwamnan jihar Kano, aka ce gashi jam'iyya ta ba ku dama ku nemi gwamnan jihar Kano a wannan jam'iyya, amma kuskuren da suka yi lokacin da suka shiga wannan jam'iyya, hukumar zaɓe ta riga ta rufe littafinta na karɓar 'yan takara daga jam'iyyu, amma saboda sun riga sun makance, saboda ba su da ilimi, saboda su bundin ne, ba su lura da wannan ba, suka je suka shiga takara ba tare da sun yi lissafi ba. Ashe ba su san cewa mu mun yi shiru, mu mun yi likimo. muka ce Dr. Nasiru Gawuna rike wannan kunni ka ajiye shi ka ɓoye kada ka yadda su sani saboda haka da muka kai ƙara muka ce mu ba mu ma yadda su jam'iyya ta tsaye da su takara ba domin lokacin da aka rufe karɓar 'yan takara daga jam'iyyu sannan ba su shiga wannan jam'iyya ba.
All right, welcome back. And those were the words of former Governor Ganoja and APC National Chairman there. So we're talking about these changes as they're called. How do you see their moves affecting the polity going forward? I believe there's a lot of joy in the APC right now for this judgment, but I do not think the NNPP will just, take it. So they will also have plans perhaps to ensure victory at the Supreme Court. So what do you make of all this influence?
First, let me react to what His Excellency, the National Chairman of the party, APC, Ganduji, was saying. Is in line with the position we established earlier on concerning voter education. As at the time they made submissions to INEC, already the portal is, or rather the date has expired. So it was very difficult for them to re-establish themselves because of the timeline and all that. Yes, there are issues within the party, NNPP, like I said earlier on. And that is why I told you they exploit those weaknesses, knowing fully well, yes, it was too late. It's just like an ambush. NNPP, lay an ambush for the APC ahead of the election. But then, the only way you can win if you contest is exploiting the technicalities involved, okay? But again, I will not take it, I will not assume rather Konkoso will go down and just fold his hands and say, okay, I will quit politics. It doesn't work that way. You still have that crowds, you still have that mass followership because of that his hero status, okay? But again, it must be established that in Kano, there are so many change makers along the line. I started by mentioning somebody like Aminu Kano, who inspired new generation politicians, in which Konkoso even aligned with. That's why you see them using their red cap and all that, because it's all about the people called the telecows. When you say telecows, those at the bottom of the pyramid, those people that they hardly, the poorest of the poor and all that. So, and if you, because of illiteracy and poverty in some parts of Kano State, it's very easy for politicians to market their brand across port because people are really in dire need of support, educationally and otherwise. So all these matters during the campaign period. And aligning with Aminu Kano really gave him an edge, because if you mention Aminu Kano, this is somebody who is, an airport is named after him, a teaching hospital, even a college of, Aminu Kano College of Art, Science and Technology. These are great institutions named after this man, who we all refer to as one of the most prominent persons in northern Nigeria. So aligning with him was like a joker for Konkoso. And technically, a lot of Kano people, derive their inspiration from that. You know too well about the late Metamasule, who also is very influential in Kano politics. Most of us, we go there, when he's alive, to listen to him, because he's somebody that's vast. People once referred to him as the sixth orator in the world because of his vocal savvy. He's somebody that Nigerians really always look up to when it comes to regional sentiment. We have a lot of them. We have Abubakar Rimi, who is very vocal, another vocal politician. These are people that really held sway years back. But coming down to the recent times, we will not fail to mention the influence of the Deputy Senate President, Barrow Jibrin. Yes, he was almost muzzled out in Kano North because of the influence of Baffa Bichi, Okonkoso, and some other heavyweights around there. But he survived it. At the same time, as I'm talking to you in Kano today, there was a bridge he constructed in one of the local government. But the opposition pulled that bridge down because he does not belong to the party. So it's that bad in Kano politics. And all what we're looking for, we're calling for is, it's not about winner takes all. Okay, it's about consensus building. It's about Kano. Kano first should be, something that matters to everybody. But I believe the government of APC Ghana coming eventually is going to, call for a general consensus. Is going to carry everybody along, because at this time everybody is talking about development. Everybody is talking about what should happen in Kano so that Kano can begin to compete once again with Lagos and other cities.
So what can we expect in that regard? I believe, if not anybody, at least APC members already see Gawuna incoming. It's almost like the period when a candidate wins an election before he's sworn in. I believe that's how the APC members say right now. Even though others like the NNPP are looking at it that, well, this is just a minor setback and we'll fix it. But I'm sure you're already looking towards governance.
Of course.
So what is it that Kano should be looking to now, especially seeing these months of
my friend,
Governor Abba?
Immediately, if you go to Kano, or rather, if you do a research today, immediately the Court of Appeal made a pronouncement. 24 hours later, a lot of people begin to drop their red cap. Because it's so simple in Kano. Tell us what happened. And the court laid it bare on the table. This is what transited, and this is what transpired. These were the lapses, notice, and all that. Are you going to stay 4 years without being in government? It's going to be very difficult. And the alliances here and there, I know in Kano today, some people begin to declare their support for Gawuna. A lot of people are going to say, look, instead of we staying back, aligning in Konkoso, who will not give us anything, it's time for us to declare a membership for APC. We are going to see cross-carpeting in weeks ahead. Kano is normal in Kano politics. It's not about saying, but unlike the government of NNPP, if you are looking for a job, maybe a contract, or maybe you are given a portfolio, unless you use the red cap, you'll be sacked from office. It's that difficult for a lot of people, a lot of politicians. So even if some people cannot complain openly, but they are not comfortable with, okay, I must continue to use the red cap, I must continue, it's like a court. But coming down this level, or rather coming to this point, and in which we anticipate favorable judgment in favor of Gawuna, I think that will settle all these scores. I see a new Kano emerging, and I believe that Gawuna will do a lot in mobilizing, at the same time consulting widely. And like I told you, Gawuna will not stop, relating with Konkoso, relating with Abba. A lot of politicians in Kano, yes, he will align with them because it's about choosing the right people that will help Kano to develop and compete again with other parts of the country. So I see that happening if Gawuna comes on board. I see that happening. All
right, that's fair enough for Kano State there. But there's still a lot of issues on ground. I hope we can touch on as we move. So let's move over now to the matter of still on the judgments. Would you say it has been fair across board in terms of, well, let me not use the word fair. If I put it fair, it might be a kind of way. But do you think what applies in Kano has been replicated in other states? In Plateau, we have the minister, Simon Lalong, now has, some people call it a free senatorial seat, because even as a minister, he has been given the judgment. We have the governor now, who has also been removed. And, some of these cases, we saw situations where some people were jubilating in the streets. This is not an indication that you're always the popular person, but at least we saw a lot of this, and we've already seen protests, particularly in Plateau State. Do you think, everything is well and good with these judgments and the precedent that has been set?
Well, in the court, it's not about making you happy or making you sad. It's about the technicalities involved and at the same time what is presented before them for jurisdiction. That must be established. But I think we should begin to, this culture of winner takes all, or rather overheating the polity because someone else loses at the tribunal, then we should begin to create problems here and there. We should move away from that, and that's why I said there's a need for proper voter education, and at the same time, national consciousness to be for candidates, or rather for Nigerians, to begin to align with the fact that, you know, even if your party loses, you are part of the system. Okay, and we should begin to look inwards, like what Tinubu has done. A lot of people say he rewarded loyalty, but no, I'm looking beyond that rewarding loyalty. It's about looking for competent people to do the job, get the job done. And the other parties should equally do the same thing. Even if you lose, that means there's something hidden before the ruling at the tribunal. What are you telling the people? Or what are the processes involved? How did you start? So all these things matters. If you are not being fair even to the opposition, definitely they will lay ambush for you. Okay. If, for instance, like after the election, I know something happened in Kano, I can recall, after the election, Ghana left everything to Fed. I said, well, there's nothing I can do but to congratulate him. That's to tell you he's a gentleman. He accepted defeat at the first instance. But again, the party came out and queried him, saying, no, this is a participatory democracy. It's not about winner takes all. You don't just concede defeat. We have grounds of appeal, and we must go to the tribunal because we, like I said, they set a trap for Konkoso and his team, and they walked into the trap. And when you are doing that, everything should be behind closed doors. Okay? So I believe that like what happened in Plateau, people go about demonstrating on the streets and all that. For now, we should begin to explain in details. These are the things that transpire in court.
I think that's a natural reaction to the things that are, you know, going on. When people step out, it is because, oh, I voted, but my vote didn't count.
Got from the party agents across board, and if in the process we notice some flaws, what we should do, let us go to where we can test our strength. Let us go to where we can file an appeal for proper hearing, and that is what the court is doing. The documents were tendered, and they have to scrutinize everything in detail. So if by virtue of that, and the court came out with its findings, that is why I will always want a situation whereby these things, this judgment are televised live. It shouldn't be virtual. So citizens will now react. And one of the judgment which I value so much, I so much cherish, is that presidential election tribunal judgment, which was delivered for over 12 hours. We went through, we had everything that transpired. If not for the fact that external documents were smuggled into the Supreme Court and all that, which was not considered useful, there's no need going to the Supreme Court. You are wasting your resources. So equally, I want the parties to align with that, be in the court premises and listen to the judgment, like what happened between Gauna and Abba. To me, I don't see any need for Abba to proceed to the Supreme Court because the lower court has established these facts. Is there any need going further than that? Well, you can try your luck, but to me, if I'm in his shoes, it's time for me to say, okay, congratulate Gauna and wait and hand over and move on with my life.
Based on, like I keep bringing up precedents, based on what the Supreme Court has said before, I mean, we will just have to see. And whenever I speak with lawyers, they say that these cases, they build the jurisprudence, the legal jurisprudence. That is, it adds more to everything that has happened in the past with law, and it helps lawyers to be able to
several sections of the Constitution.
It will be interesting. Yes, it will be interesting to see how this turns out, particularly given how the Supreme Court has ruled in other cases. But we'll wait and see how that turns out. But I'd like to get your thoughts in terms of, you spoke about we shouldn't be a winner takes all kind of thing and all of that. We have ruling parties now, we have oppositions. The PDP presidential candidate for the 2023 elections and former vice president made a call, so to speak, for a sort of unification of opposition. What do you make of that call, and what do you think it could entail?
Well, I have been around the political environment for some years now. And I will tell you categorically that, you know, every finish line marks the beginning of a new race. As soon as a winner is pronounced, start preparing for the next election. It's as simple as that. And in politics, even in US, you exploit your opponent's weaknesses. So it's like that. If you really want to come out the next time, okay, begin the grassroots, you know, campaign, align with the people and pick holes in what is happening within the government. It's easy. People, you know, can always align if things are not going well. Like we have now, people complain about the subsidy removal, non-availability of palliatives, and at the same time, the minimum wage is spread across. Okay, what you should do is, okay, take advantage and exploit some of these weaknesses across board. Okay, me too, I can come out, I have something to do. And I'll give you an example, like in Nasarawa State, the case of Abdul Sule, his opponent, that won. What happened? He started from the grassroots. In every local government, his presence is felt. I keep talking to politicians this way.
What are you referring to now?
Well, the case of Nasarawa Street.
Okay,
I'm just giving an example.
Okay, I thought you were speaking about
No.
Okay.
You know, if you know, in politics, before you come in, make your presence felt at the grassroots. Impact on the lives of the people. It's very easy. And one of the areas people can exploit is one, provision of borehole, social amenities, and all. It's not about giving them physical money. Okay, set up business units for them, let them align with national government in areas of empowerment and job creation and all that. You can sponsor some people to, you know, institutions. You can, you know, create opportunity for them to be in the armed forces and other things like that. So these are some of the things you do for, and that is why, like I keep saying, Kwankwaso impacted on the lives of many people. Don't make attempts, even as I'm talking to you, it's very difficult for APC to say, okay, let's dismiss Kwankwaso. No, Kwankwaso is a big threat to any political party. No doubt about that. I give it to him. The same thing with Atiku. Atiku is a big threat because he has structures across the 36 states of the Federation. Wiki can't beat Atiku to those structures. It's going to be very difficult. Okay.
Even at this moment?
Even at this moment, Atiku is still a force to be reckoned with in the country. No doubt about it. You can do your research. So if at the end of the day, Atiku say, okay, let us align forces and take over in 2027. Well, it's a clarion call. What do you think will happen? Politicians that maybe never had it go with the APC government on that thing, but we begin to align. Okay, let us carve a safety. Let us carve a route for ourselves. It happens in politics.
Just to quickly cut in here, there are, you know, words on the grapevine and speculations that President Tinubu has a peculiar way of dealing with opposition. So my question is this: why does it seem as though it was easier in 2015, late 2014, for the CPC, the ACN,
for the
NPP to join without, because they were varying interests, definitely.
Yes.
And yet they were able to do it. But now, when we speak of the Labour Party, you know, somebody brings up Peter Obi, another person brings up Kwankwaso, another person brings up Atiku, and they say, well, none of these people can step down for the other. You know, so why does it seem almost like a much bigger task for the opposition of today to combine?
You may want me to give you a secret as APC. Well, what I would say about that is, it's too late for them to do that.
Even ahead of the next cycle?
Of the next cycle, because already in PDP today, they want to scheme Atiku out so that other candidates can emerge. That is on one side.
Do you think the vice president, former vice president, is still interested?
He's still interested. That's why he said we should come together and form an alliance with other political parties. Obi is interested. Kwankwaso is interested. But again, amongst all these people, between now and 2027, Tinubu must have established a powerful political base across the nation. It's possible. So if you are going to come up against Tinubu, yes, it's a good plan to align forces and join forces with other actors. But again, who should take the lead to confront Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
And it seems so difficult.
So it's going to be difficult because, don't forget, they are all friends. And Tinubu, as I'm talking to you, is preparing ahead of 2027.
But Tinubu himself stepped down for, President Buhari.
Yes.
We had Saraki.
Okay, if you consider, I witnessed the primaries in Lagos. Okorocha and some other people contested, including Kwankwaso, with Buhari. Okay, about 5 of them, they contested at the primaries. It took the intervention of Bola Ahmed Tinubu for Buhari to scale through, because they brought in a lot of money. I will not tell you what transpired that time. At that instance, it was proven that the person that has the best credentials to rule and take over from Jonathan that time is Muhammadu Buhari. He has the passion to lead. He has mass followers. Somebody who still have 12 million votes at that time. It's not somebody you can dismiss the wave of hand. Okay? So, technically, it's a game plan. Fine, you go ahead, but when you exit office, I will take over. And it was acknowledged during that time when he came in and during the primaries, it was well contested. We know that, very fiercely contested by over 20 of them. But again, he triumphs over all others. Even as at that, he did not dismiss them. He appealed to them to work together. Some of them worked with him. Nobody gave him a chance to succeed, but he succeeded against all odds. He did his calculation. It's all about doing your calculations, where your strength lies, where you have weaknesses, where you can forego. And
it was the north and the southwest.
Of course, not necessarily north and the southwest. Majorly. But again, he wanted rivers, and he got rivers. And Wike gave him rivers. If Wike had not given him rivers.
Okay, you're speaking of this cycle. I was actually referring to when President Buhari came in.
That's what I said. It's a game plan that worked in their favor, because what the north and southwest affair. In the north, yes, Buhari has a cult followership and all that. In the southwest, Tinubu had it on ground. Like I said, it's not going to be easy now, under this present circumstance, for them to gang up and take over power. One, because who steps down for who? Kwankwaso will not step down for Obi. Obi will not step down for Kwankwaso. And Kwankwaso will not step down for Atiku. So it's going to be very difficult. Even if they agree, at the latter stage, it will collapse because of ego. So it's going to be very difficult.
So that is the. I think you've pinpointed something. It's an ego issue.
It's an ego issue. It's not about Nigeria. It's about their personal ego. Forget it.
But they could believe that they are the best for Nigeria.
Well, that is an assumption that what are they coming to do that Tinubu is not doing? If you talk about subsidy removal, we're talking about the economy, how we can grow the economy now, and this man is in charge. We've gone through the most difficult times. Going forward from 2024, I believe there's going to be a lot of changes here and there with the way he's working. So all we need as Nigeria, yes, opposition should exist to put them in check. But as I'm talking to even the PDP governors aligned with Tinubu, National Assembly members, even in Labour Party, they align with the ruling party. So tell me what will happen in
So really, we could be getting a one-party state.
It may not be, I don't want to use that word, one-party state. Okay? I want to believe one thing, that somebody that has the capacity to lead, and somebody that, knew about our problems and how to solve them. That's all what Nigeria need. We don't need to overheat the polity. But again, oppositions will exist, but not to pull down the economy. That's my take.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about that. I don't know if you've seen it, but online at the moment, the trending focus right now is on issues pertaining to budgets, and there have been discussions about how opposition should be. ADC, I hope I'm getting that correctly, a candidate for the 2023 Lagos governorship election, Funsho Doherty, released an open letter to Governor Sanwo-Olu where he highlighted different items on the budget in the recent quarter, and he basically gave suggestions and reasoning. And a lot of people were saying, this is how you do opposition. You don't have to shout, and you know, so and so on and so forth. But interestingly, within that period and this afternoon, as I speak with you, there have been more revelations from Benue State, from Abia State, and we're seeing that same ideology. In Lagos, we saw about was it 2 billion naira being spent on rechargeable batteries and fans and thereabouts. We saw 50 million naira being used for the governor's case against the PDP. That is to say, the governor's personal case seeking his re-election was sponsored by taxpayers' money. And it was in the budget and so many others. So the question now is, in terms of this issue, so two questions in one. The opposition we're talking about, bringing these things to light, is that what we should be expecting from opposition? And then what has been brought to light in itself? What are your thoughts on the way government is spending, despite telling Nigerians to sacrifice?
Well, thank you very much for this very important question. The solution is simple: open governance. We want to see that happen under this government. Even if, yes, we are stakeholders in the Nigerian project and all that, we want to see transparency. Okay. That is one. Open governance, another key. What
does that really mean?
Yeah, open governance is government should be put under check by the opposition and all state actors. Whatever budgeting, whatever surpluses, whatever is coming in should be in a way everybody should align with. You know? It's not, I will not be in support of His Excellency using the taxpayers' money for personal gains and all that, or personal purpose. It's good for the opposition to query some of these things, but at the same time, the state government should be put in the defense all the time. Yes,
this will make a difference.
It will, because Nigerians are talking. This is Nigeria, and we are all Nigerians. We are stakeholders in the project, and that is why I keep saying that. We should do away with this mentality of winner takes all. The governor seems to be uncontrollable as soon as they mount the saddle. You know, we should have a system in place that, you know, like budget and some other, you know, agencies of government should put them in check. I like what Serap is doing. Every time they come up with a report challenging the status quo, something needs to be done, and we should begin to talk to Nigerians in a way that, you know, Nigerians will understand your spending plan, your budgeting cycle and all that. How impactful is governance and all that. So Nigerians should begin to ask more questions. And I see that happening in this government. What Tinubu needs is information. Okay? So far so good. You know too well that, you know, we are budgeting in surplus, almost 98%, 2% on, you know, recurrent expenditure. So it's going to be very, very difficult for him to survive this trend. But we must continue to question the stakeholders, especially members of the National Assembly, the governors. How are they spending this money? And again, even people, the Minister of Finance even cautioned against further borrowing, which is not going to be healthy for the nation. We should begin to ask questions, honestly.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Iceman, Garba. And I'd like to, you know, reiterate your last words there, which I believe our viewers should really take into action, which is, it does matter, you know, opposition, journalists, citizens, everyone speaking matters. I recall the issue of the yacht, the 5 billion naira yacht. After a lot of talk, basically the National Assembly was shamed into, you know, diverting those funds to the student loans.
Yes.
So this, you should never think that your words don't matter.
And again, at the same time, we must continue to support local companies to thrive.
All right. Thank you so much.
Against the acquisition of this 160 million naira per SCV for the members of the National Assembly. Indeed. Me personally, I'm against that.
All right, indeed. Yes. Those are the things that we'll continue to push for and hope that whatever little we'll do together, it will make an impact. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
All right, that's how we come to the end of the program. The Polity reaches you live from Abuja every weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Do join us tomorrow for another edition. Have a nice day. I am Amadin Ogbewe.